Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana and I come on here to chat about mental health and different health updates that are going on with me and that you might be able to relate to. We also talk a lot on here about concepts of fatness, as I identify as a small fat individual and I choose to use the word fat as like a term of reclamation, as well as different journeys for health and wellness that I happen to be on. So for today's chat, I'm actually going to be focusing more on the weight related conversation. So if that is triggering for you or something, I feel like I haven't done proper trigger warnings. Sorry, I'm just like realizing that I feel uncomfortable for one, just being in a tank top ever without having some kind of like jacket or something over top of it, but it's like pretty warm out, and if there's a time to do it, today is the day. But I'm just feeling a little bit self-conscious about it. But anyway, so I am going to be talking about weight stuff. I know that I haven't been good about triggers in the past, but I'm going to try to be better about that now. So if weight related content offends you or is triggering for you, you know, this probably isn't the video for you. So something that I've been working on with my therapist for a few years now, and probably over the last year with a psychiatrist, has been trying to overcome BED, or binge eating disorder. So what qualifies as BED is overeating a certain number of times in a given amount of time. I think it has to be like at least once a week or something like that. And there has to be a consistent pattern for like around 6 months, I think, or it's either 3 months or 6 months. I can't quite remember. But anyway, so I have been dealing with binge eating for a really long time. For me, it started back in college, but I developed kind of secretive eating habits when I was a lot younger, when I was like in probably grade school. So it's been something that I've been trying to figure out for the majority of my life, and I've talked about that in other videos about how that's pretty frustrating sometimes for you to feel like there's this thing that you've been trying to solve for almost your entire life and you still can't seem to solve it. But anyway, I am yet again in the midst of trying to solve it. And so one thing that binging has done for me is that because I deal with a lot of mood deregulation, either due to a mood disorder that my therapist and I are trying to figure out fully, or due to my ADHD, which can cause mood deregulation, I definitely use food as kind of like a reset at the end of the week to soothe me and comfort me, because I have this like emotional buildup of all these things that I haven't been able to process. Even though I do go to therapy and I get help with processing there, it's still not enough. I'm an intense person. There's a lot going on with me. And so I use food to soothe myself and to spend time with myself alone without having cyclical intrusive thoughts and a lot of anxiety, and kind of zone out, because when I'm alone, my thoughts really tend to go to places. I tend to focus on the past. I tend to focus on past relationships. I tend to focus on very like random interactions with people in which I feel like I failed or I didn't do enough, or yeah, just basically like in a myriad of ways, I question my worth and my value as a human being. And that can just happen throughout an entire Sunday when I'm alone. And it's debilitating because it prevents me from doing chores, like things that people typically do on a Sunday. So one, it prevents me from doing like chores and things like that, but it also prevents me from spending relaxing, nice time with myself. Like it prevents me from, see, like I don't even know what people do that they love to do by themselves, because I don't have kids, so I could be doing all kinds of relaxing things by myself, but like, you know, taking a bath or reading a good book, or, and I also have the ADHD, so that makes reading a little bit difficult for me. I rarely get through an entire book. I have probably like 15 to 20 books that I'm in the middle of reading. It's pretty embarrassing, but anyway, so that is just how I am. But Sundays are the hardest for me, because Sundays are usually the day of the week where other people are doing their chores and their prep, and they're figuring out, they're doing their pre-work for the week and that kind of a thing. And I can do that. I can dabble in like doing some work. Again, I struggle with that on Sundays usually because well, previously I wasn't taking any kind of amphetamine on the weekend at all to reduce my tolerance to the medication, but now I'm taking 30 milligrams of Vyvanse on the weekend. So that actually has been really, really helpful in me being able to do work and get things done, and get chores done and be productive and that kind of a thing on the weekends. But before when I wasn't taking the Vyvanse, and before I was even diagnosed with ADHD, I used food as a way to regulate my mood when my dopamine levels were low, because that happens with ADHD, and as a way to basically avoid having to spend time with myself. Because I would hate spending time with myself, so I would always be hanging out with friends and things. But the other piece that would happen would be, it would become very, very overwhelming for me to constantly be so stimulated and constantly be doing things all the time. Like eventually I would need to just be alone and reset. And like I said, I feel like people have a number of different things that they do, like hobbies and relaxing activities and things that they do to kind of fulfill that need to reset. And of course it's a little bit harder if you have kids, and maybe that's something that you do with the kid, or, you know, different things like that. But for me, it has always been food. And not always, but for a long time, for a number of years now, that it's fulfilling that emotional need, it's filling that comfort, and it's also a habit at this point, because I've just been doing it for so long. And so I have really been trying to stop binging because I want to lose weight. And I know that this conversation around weight loss tied to a conversation around body positivity is a difficult one for a lot of people. But I have high blood pressure, which is most likely a result of the binging. I have a BMI that fluctuates between 29 and 30, and anything over 25 is considered overweight, anything over 30 is considered obese. And really, like, all of my videos that talk about BMI do this like long caveat where I say like, well, I know BMI isn't an actual indicator of health, but I have these like medical indicators, and I'm 30 years old, so I have these medical indicators that show that things might just get worse for me, especially because I'm not the kind of small fat or fat individual who is that because of PCOS or genetics or anything like that. Like, I'm the only overweight person in my family. I have a lot of mental health stuff. I'm just either like an empath or a highly sensitive person, and things have affected me really, really deeply over the years, and it's been really hard for me to cope with a lot of things in my life. And I've worked on this stuff, my mental health and my emotional well-being, very, 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 very hard. Like, and I know that to an extent, like, everyone has to figure out how to survive and thrive in the world. But I have indicators based on how I've just observed how other people interact with themselves, and the way that they talk about things, or the way that they don't talk about things, and so forth, that I know that I do it, not that like I necessarily have worked harder than other people, but I have a vested interest in a way that a lot of other people I know don't have around figuring out mental health solutions and bettering themselves. And I think that one thing that gets like tossed around a lot in conversations around both fat acceptance, but also like the fitness community talking about fat people, is that it seems like fat people don't really care that much about their mental health, because like we'd rather get a quick fix and slap some medication on it or something, go to a psychiatrist, when really it's just that we're not exercising, and all of that extra weight on our body is just holding us down, and it's making us depressed and all these things like that. I can say that I just feel like that's the biggest crack of BS, honestly, because so many of the fat people that I know, the fatness is, you know, a lot of times the outcome of a lot of different things coming together. And usually, I mean, I don't want to speak about all fat individuals, but like, usually there's a lot going on there, and usually that person has, you know, tried to lose weight at least one time in their life. And I just feel like fat people that I know tend to be like some of the most well-informed people that I ever meet regarding health and wellness, and I'll leave it at that. But for me specifically, mental health has been a really big issue in my life, and my mood deregulation has made me feel like there was just something very, very, very wrong with me for many years in my life. And I've been told that, you know, in a number of ways, that I'm a very needy person, that it's weird that I don't have my own things, and that I tend to like kind of like latch on to other people, and that I don't like bring people into my world. I kind of join their world. And I think that's one of the reasons why in a previous video of mine, I was like talking about how I've worried that I might have borderline personality disorder. But I've talked a bit about it with my therapist, and she does not think I have it at all. And, you know, I trust her expertise. She's worked with a lot of clients with BPD, and I mean, I would be fine, you know, if I was diagnosed with something that would help me, you know, figure out my best options for getting better. But I think actually what harkens to it, the reason why I'm so much like the way I am, is because I just have harbored a lot of embarrassment my entire life around not being good enough, and around feeling like there was just something inherently wrong with me, and I had to hide it. And I really do think that that is the ADHD, because I wasn't diagnosed until about a year ago. So, and I'm 30. So it's not like it wasn't a problem. I come from a family that had some pretty stringent standards about, you know, how you were supposed to do in the world, especially at school. Your sense of value and your sense of self was marked by kind of the grade you could take home. And so I did it. I did it because that's what I was supposed to do. But it was, let me tell you, it was hell. By the time I got to high school, I was drinking coffee on a regular basis. I was trying, oh my gosh, my hardest to like, because I couldn't concentrate on things by myself. So I was like always trying to find like somebody who would let me join their study group, because I needed the constant like distractions or the chatter, the multiple things happening at the same time in order to force myself to do the thing. But I also knew that like I had to do the thing. And, you know, it just got way worse in college. My grades really suffered, but I was also like dealing with some post-trauma in college. But I was terrified for so many years in my life of somebody realizing how much was wrong with me. And I always felt like I had to explain why my apartment was so messy, why it seemed like I couldn't keep up with my life, why it seemed like I was overwhelmed all the time, even though I didn't have that much on my plate, and I just couldn't organize my time or manage my time, why I would let tasks for like a work study job or something of that nature go so far, you know, to the point of not getting done, that if it wasn't a work study job or an internship or something that like, you know, was held together by a program, and so that kind of like gave me a safety net there, I definitely would have been fired. You know, I've had talkings to, I've had people not understand why I couldn't just get work done. I've made up dozens of excuses over the years about, you know, like people being sick and all the excuses in the book, like why I had to extend deadlines and why I couldn't do things. And I just felt like my entire life was a lie, basically, because I was going to these elite private universities and I was supposed to be really smart, but clearly I was stupid because I couldn't even do my homework. Like I couldn't, like the level of push that it like took me to do things was out of this world. And like in trying to do that and just trying to keep up with like meeting a deadline, everything else fell to the wayside. And it still does a lot of time. Like there would just be, I just got used to living in complete chaos, like having trash all over my floor and not picking up after myself and not doing laundry, and like buying new clothes and not doing laundry, and, you know, just things that I was disgusted by myself and like just extremely embarrassed. And I just felt like I was a stupid person pretending to be smart, and that people were going to find that out eventually. And I really do think that is why I think that my undiagnosed ADHD is a huge reason why I've lived so much of my life masked in low self-esteem and in constantly feeling like an imposter in the world. And this makes perfect sense to me. Like when, you know, I finally did go to therapy, and when ADHD was brought up, I was like, oh, like, and I had taken the test online. I had considered that this was something that I dealt with, but I also grew up in kind of with a cultural background and a stigma that was like, you know, we are smart and we're like normal, and mental health stuff doesn't apply to us. That's just something that people made up, kind of thing. In a developed country, people just like made this stuff up because they were bored and they needed more things to do or something. My dad is from India, and he grew up in a village. He grew up in an extremely different environment from, the kind of luxuries that we get to experience in the United States. When I've, visited my family in India at the village, it's like unrecognizable. There's nothing that reminds me of home, that reminds me of, what I consider like a life with the kind of amenities that I'm used to. So I'll just put that out there, that it just did not seem, I think that it would just not have even occurred to my parents to be like, okay, let's go get Diana tested for ADHD. Because also I did turn things in. Like, I would make up excuses and have to get extensions and stuff. But I graduated college. Because there wasn't a way not to. Like, it was kind of just like, this is the way that it is. And so I had to do it. But I'm really, really glad that I was diagnosed, and basically every single part of my life is getting better, like, since I was diagnosed. But the eating thing, the binge eating on Sundays has not improved. It's improved in like phases, but then I will go back to doing it. And a big reason why it's hard for me not to do it is because, like I said, my mood tends to drop on Sundays, and I have to deal with myself and my intrusive thoughts and how much I just hate myself, like, a lot of the time. I have to, like, confront that person. And eating a lot and binge watching TV allows you not to have to confront anything. Like, you're just zoned out. You're not doing anything. But I want to have a sober Sunday, not binging or whatever. And so I'm doing that today. Luckily, I am now taking Vyvanse on the weekends as well as during the work week, but I'm taking a higher dose during the work week. So I'm not worried about binging today, but I am worried about being able to still have the effect of a binge, because I would like to mentally, not physically, because that always actually made me feel horrible physically, but just being able to reset and start the work week out in like a very like mentally fresh way. I don't quite know how to describe it, but like I just have a lot of mood stuff going on and emotional things going on in my head. And so one thing is that writing helps a little bit, but it's like I'll write for an hour or something, and then that's like a fun creative outlet, but then that's done. Another thing that I've done today, because I did take Vyvanse, so I am very able to be productive, is, I've done laundry, I have washed some dishes, I made a Thai green curry. It turned out okay, it was actually pretty bland because I didn't use additional spices besides this like green curry paste that I bought, and it's like not that flavorful. I also didn't use coconut milk. I used silk. I used vanilla soy milk. So sometimes you gotta use what you have, and I put cauliflower rice in it instead of regular rice because I am trying to maximize my veggies and eat healthily and continue to not eat gluten. But anyway, so I've done these different things today, but it's still like only, what time is it? Like only like 4 o'clock. And you know what? If I had ordered like a bunch of chicken wings or something, like that could have just been my entire day, like zoning out, sleeping, like watching movies and stuff, like just not being very present. And I just feel really nervous right now. I'm not in like a terrible mood. My thoughts are not the worst thoughts. I got some of them out when I was writing earlier, and that was helpful. But I would still like to reset. I would still like the chance to feel comfort and soothed, like, because right now I feel like when I take the Vyvanse, I feel like, okay, I have this medication that allows me to be more productive than usual, so I should just be productive. But the reality of it is that, like, I get burnt out if I'm not like myself all the time. And a Sunday where I'm actually caught up on my work week, so I don't have to do work today, a Sunday is like the day to just spend time with myself and chill the F out. And right now, like, I don't know how to do that. And so that's something that I don't hear talked about on videos that talk about BED, about binge eating disorder. Like, how do you replace that comfort that that a binge gave to you? Because there's like nothing else like it. And I'm not somebody who's interested in drinking alone or partaking in any kind of substance use or whatever alone. That's not something I'm going to do, because I do have depressive tendencies, like, and deal with anxiety and stuff. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm also just like really trying to get healthy, and so anything, like, I'm not going to be putting things in my body to excess, or, you know, that aren't going to be like good, that aren't going to like make me just feel better. I also, because I've been working on some of the ADHD stuff, the behavioral stuff, I also got a calendar where I've mapped out my workout routine for the next few weeks, and I've given myself a break today. But I'm kind of thinking it might help comfort me if instead of doing like a strength training or a cardio, if I do a meditation or a yoga type activity. So that's something I'm considering. But in general, I just like don't know how to like do it. And I remember when I was like 10 and I really, really loved to read. I would read a lot of like YA and like fantasy books. Once you get in there, once you get in the zone, you can hyper focus. But for me, for books, it's so hard at this point in my life to like get in the zone. There are all these other stressors, and I'm always like worried about like wasting time. Like, for some reason I'm okay with wasting time when I'm completely like zoned out eating food, like binge watching like a 10-hour series of something. But when it comes to like reading a book, it feels like wasting time. I think it's because my mind is more engaged, and I'm not zoned out, so I'm aware of the time that's passing. There's this like level of awareness, and I can't like turn it off. Like, I can't turn off the anxiety that I have associated around not doing everything exactly the way it should be done. So it becomes very like all or nothing. It's like you're like being the worst, like you're acting out like the worst way you possibly can by putting like an enormous amount of salt in your body, and like not like, you know, allowing your mind to grow because you're just like binge watching like Gilmore Girls or something that like is not gonna like really stimulate growth. You know, it's either like that or all the way to the other end where I'm like, okay, I have to be really productive, I have to meal plan, I have to be doing work for the work week. Maybe I should, you know, like you know, like plan out my work week and start it off so that my Monday is less busy, and that would be good. But I really do think that I need to establish something that is soothing and comforting to me, that isn't bad for me, and that just makes me feel good. And if I, you know, could allow myself to like get into reading a book or something of that nature, that would be really nice. I also, the weather outside is really nice today, and I like could go for a walk or something, but I'm also just like exhausted. Like the last like 3 days I've worked out much harder than I usually do. I want to like start meeting some goals that are new to me or whatnot. So anyway, so I've been just like working out really hard, and my body is just like exhausted, and I'm like I don't want to go for a walk. Like I do just want to sit down and enjoy doing something, but it's like I don't know what to replace the binging with. Like I don't know how to get that same level of restoration for my mind that I did with the binging. And that like maybe that sounds like so crazy and absurd for somebody who doesn't deal with BED, but if you do deal with BED or comfort eating at all, like I am interested in knowing, like, what do you do? Because I don't know what the answer is. But anyway, I'm going to stop it there. You know, a big reason why I decided to do this video today, it was like literally because I'm sitting here like with my mind racing, like trying to figure out how to calm the F down. But actually I'm looking over, because my bookshelf is right here, and I'm looking over my bookshelf, and it's giving me some ideas because I haven't read like any of these books actually, because like I said, how it tends to go is that that I have like 10 different books that I've started but I haven't finished. So maybe I can get into something. It'd be a challenge for sure if I could get into something. But anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. I'll update you if you know, I've discovered some kind of hobby or something that has helped me not binge and has helped me spend some really good restoring time with myself. Come on, I need time with me. Okay, all right, I hope you have a good Easter Sunday. It's also Easter Sunday, but I don't I'm not going to talk about religion on this channel. I don't celebrate Easter. I don't celebrate that much, but I hope you all will have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you at the next one. Bye.